What you're seeing here is Koha's staff interface. Koha is a completely web-based product that was developed and first released in the year of 2000 as a completely open source ILS. It's the world's first open source ILS, and we're about to hit year 25 in 2025, and we're super excited about it. Over the years, Koha has grown to include advanced modules such as the most recent ERM management, integration with ILL platforms, and of course, EDI or Edifact ordering with acquisitions. So I'll start off our journey of the Koha staff interface by just talking about some of the features for staff. So as a librarian, what I appreciate the most about the Koha staff interface is just the availability to kind of jump into any of the modules. Now, I am logged in as a super librarian. What that means is I have access to everything within the Koha system. Think of this as like you are the system administrator. Koha also allows you to set permissions based on what you have access to for day-to-day activities. So for example, if I was frontline staff, I would probably see circulation and patrons and probably advanced search and item search, and maybe reports if I'm running like a daily report to look at something. The rest of these can be turned off for modules that they do not need access to. You'll also see a help button over here on the right-hand side. That help button is going to take me directly into the Koha manual. The Koha manual is written by Koha users and librarians. So for example, if I'm creating, let's say, a patron and I just forget what one of the fields does or how it works, I can jump right into the manual and it will show me screenshots and step-by-step instructions. You'll also see these note fields where it'll give you just like a quick reminder, and these are generally written by librarians who are like, this will be helpful when you're doing X. So I love that as a user of the Koha system. At the top of the screen, you'll see a black bar, and that black bar is basically going to say static, no matter where you're at within the system. So if I'm working day to day, I can just jump in, hit that circulation button, and start the process. Run my holds queue or my pick list, come in and see which holds are still waiting on the shelf. I could also just jump right into patrons and begin the search for a patron to see if they have an existing account, or come in to begin the process of creating a new patron within the system. The Koha logo in the upper left-hand corner or the little home button over here on the left will take me right back to that main screen. Now, underneath that black bar up top, you'll also see a search box, and that will also follow you throughout the entire process within the Koha system. So if you're getting ready to check out, you can scan a patron's card, or you can type in their name. This will populate a list of matches. It'll show the top 10 within the system. So if you find the match, or if you just scan their card, it will take you right into their account. When we are looking at a patron's account within the system, you'll be able to see pertinent information over on the left-hand side, such as contact, pronouns, email, the type of category they are, and most importantly, when they were last active. When they were last active, we'll also look at things like API or SIP connections. So if they're digital-born users, and let's say they just access your e-content and they don't physically come in to check out things, it will still update there. So that's, again, I love to tell you my favorite features because I am a librarian and I love these things and I wish I had Koha when I worked in my library. So these are the things that kind of get me excited. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see any pertinent information about the user. They have a hold waiting for pickup. They have overdue fines or fees, or perhaps they have a message on their account. They left their water bottle sitting on the circ desk, or whatever it may be. You'll be able to see all of that information within the system. The center of the screen will allow you to begin that checkout process. So from here, I can scan in a barcode, I can specify the date. Koha has on-site checkouts. So if you do anything like Chromebooks or Kindles or anything that they're using like within the library itself, you can do that as well. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see their checkouts itself. Anything in red means that it is overdue. Because Koha is completely web-based, you can click on the title or the barcode to get a little more information about it itself. Now, I'm a tab enthusiast, so I like to have lots of tabs open within the system. So I can jump in there, I can see the title that is checked out. And then if I scroll down a little bit further, it will show me that title within the system. So I can see that Tina has a book checked out at the East Branch. And then down below, we have integration with novelists turned on. So I can see read-alikes and novelists for this particular title. Now I'm going to go back to the patrons account. Other things that staff will be able to manage from the patron account interface, their holds. Any holds that the patron has made, staff will be able to come in, update pickup locations, delete or remove their request, and then of course, suspend. Think of suspend like I'm getting ready to go on a trip and I don't want to lose my place, or you just have way too many holds on your list and you don't want to miss one of them, so you can suspend them. So staff will be able to manage that here as well. Koha has all types of features like claims returned. So if you allow them to have claims within the system, you can track that information. You'll also see restrictions here as well. These are manual restrictions. So think of this for times when perhaps you had to trespass someone from the library, or essentially you saw them looking at something they shouldn't have been in the library and you're manually restricting them. There are other ways to automatically restrict users within the system for like overdues, excessive fines and fees, and things like that. Other highlights from the patrons account, in the details tab, you'll be able to update any of their information. So if they come in and say, I have a new cell phone number, they can of course do that in their My Account online. But if they're not, if they don't want to do that, staff can do it for them. And that just allows you to come in and quickly update that information. Staff will also be able to manage any transactions or fines and fees, damage costs, loss costs, right from the accounting interface. This will show them any outstanding fines or fees where they can pay them here or write them off. You'll have a full transactions history that will also give an overview of any payments within the system. At any given time, you can print or email receipts, print invoices, and again, for supervisors on the call, you can always see a full detail of who applied that and the amount within the system. Good for troubleshooting. Other highlights from the patrons account, depending on what your privacy is, if you anonymize patron history or circulation history, you can turn these things on and off, but it does allow you to see circ history and or holds history for the patron, which will give everything to pending, canceled, fulfilled, holds within the system. For supervisors, there is a modification log, which allows you to see any type of transactional history within their account, log in, log out, check-ins, update passwords, and things like that. Koha will keep notices that were generated and sent to the patron. So for example, in this one, I can see that an email was sent to Tina for a hold. If and when the email or SMS or automated phone call is sent, you'll also have the option to resend notices. So if for some reason they didn't get it, you can resend it out. The other thing I'll hit in the patrons account is purchase suggestions. Within Aspen Discovery or the public interface, users can submit a purchase suggestion. They didn't find it in the search. They're looking for a title. They want to add it to the collection. If you allow these, it can be tied right into their account and within Koha right through the acquisitions module. So it follows that whole life cycle of the purchase within the system. The last thing I will hit in the patrons account is just the ability to easily change passwords or duplicate accounts, print any type of receipts, which can be set up to any type of receipt printer or hold slip printer within your system. Of course, then also the ability to set permissions for staff members within the system. Now we'll jump into the patrons module and just give a quick overview of creation of a patron account. In the new patron dropdown, you will see your patron categories. These are my patron categories for my little sandbox, but this allows me to come in, select the type of patron I am creating, and then go through the process of creating their account. You will see required fields. You will determine what those required fields are during your implementation process. That way, when staff come in here, they can go through and create an account for a patron within the system. We do have guarantee and guarantors, which allow you to connect adults to children or even adults to adults, and you can set that up as well. In the patron account, we'll also track card number information, any type of notes, creation of their username and password to log into Discovery, and then a section that I always like to point out, which we refer to as patron attribute types. These are completely customizable fields where you can collect data about that patron, specific things. In this case, one of our examples is completed the 3D printing course, so they can use the 3D printer in the makerspace. You can set all of that information up. It can have controlled data in a drop-down menu, or it could be free text where they can come in and enter that data. The last thing down here, you'll see patron messaging preferences, and that allows you to set how the patron will be notified. These are proactive or courtesy messages. And you can also set defaults for patron categories. The other thing I'll point out in the patrons module is, again, just the ability to search. So I can search by any type of field. Maybe you're looking to see if the patron already has an account. Maybe they haven't been in a couple of years and they just can't remember. You can start that process right at the beginning. Now, once our patrons are active, the circulation module will, of course, allow you to begin other processes, like the check-in process. From here, I can come in, start scanning in my items. I have a book drop mode, and check those items in. Also in circulation, we do have an offline tool. So if for some reason the network or Wi-Fi is down, you still have the ability to check things in and out within the system. Once the Wi-Fi or network is back up, you can upload the file online. We call it a KOC file or Koha offline circ. It will also give you any pending offline operations, so you can see kind of like a breakdown in a report if it was successful when bringing it into the system. In the center of the screen, you're going to see holds management. The holds queue is what we run to tell which books are on the shelf and ready to pull to process holds for your patrons. This will give your staff a breakdown of titles that are ready to be pulled within the system. You can configure which columns are shown here. And then this allows staff to essentially go to the shelf, grab those on-shelf ready items, and then once they are ready, they can begin the process of triggering or trapping the hold. In Koha, essentially all you have to do is check that item in, and that will trigger the hold notification for staff. At this point, staff can come in here, confirm the hold. I have a 6-branch system, so this is telling me that I need to transfer it to the East branch. I'm currently at the main branch. So I have a couple options here. I can confirm it and transfer it, or I can print a slip, which can either go in the inside of the item, or maybe it's a sticky and it goes on the outside of that item, and then confirm and transfer. Once I print that slip, transfer it to its next destination, once it is checked in at the final destination, it will then notify the patron that it is ready to pick up. All notices and slips that are printed can be completely customized by staff administration to send that information out. Also in circulation, you'll see a holds awaiting pickup. This will show any holds that are currently waiting on the shelf, and then you'll have a second tab for any holds that are past their expiration date. So right now mine is set to 7. So after 7 days, if they haven't picked up the hold, it will fall into this tab where then staff can cancel the hold, cancel it and return it to the East branch, or if it's on hold and waiting for another patron, begin that process to trigger or trap the hold for the next individual. The last column you'll see here in your transfers in circulation is transfers, and this would be just, you can see a live list of what's going back and forth between your branches. So that way, if for some reason something didn't come, you can see transfers to receive or transfers to send, and it'll give you a quick snapshot of those titles. So Koha's automatically tracking that data for you. The next thing I'll talk about is the searchability within the Koha system. So, whether you're looking for a title that a patron is asking about, or you want to use something for a program, you can use Koha's search feature, which allows you to start right at the top of the screen. That search box does many things for you. We saw the checkout. I can renew, check in, search patrons, or just search the catalog itself. This will do a keyword search by default. However, I can select a different way to search within the system. I also have an advanced search, which allows me to come in and do my typical Boolean connectors. And then I also have a long list of options where I can narrow it down. If I'm looking for an accelerated reader level or interest for Lexile, I can do that as well. I'll also have the ability to come in and do a narrowed search. Item types in Koha are like material types. This is what's driving your circulation. I can also narrow down by a shelving location and or collection code. Again, these will all be mapped from your legacy ILS over to Koha. So when you search for this data within the system, it brings back those results. At the bottom of advanced search, you'll also be able to narrow by things like year or language. Your subtype limits are pulling from your fixed fields or your 008s. And then you can also search by location. Now, the next search that I'm going to show you is my favorite, which is the item search. The item search is awesome because it's like a search, a report, and a list all in one. So you can come in here and select your, let's say your location. You could select where it lives in the library, the type of item that you're looking for, and you can multi-select if you are looking for more than one. So say I was looking for books and large print, and I'm looking for a collection, we'll say fiction. And then I can come in here and select other things like status. Maybe I'm looking for things that are on order. Or perhaps I want to narrow down by a certain author. I can do that as well. At the bottom of the screen, you'll also see ways to narrow in. If you want to do a call number range, you can do that. You have 3 options for output: screen, a CSV, or a barcode file. So if you want to massage or manipulate the data, you can export a CSV. If you want to do a batch modification, you can export a barcode. Or if you're just searching, we can come in, hit that search, and it will bring back a table. In this case, I can see I have about 207 results. I can select all visible rows and then come in here and export it. I can also jump right into batch item modification or deletion. So that's why I like item search as an end user, I love, because you can do it whether you're doing a pick list where you want to go grab stuff for like an upcoming event, or maybe I just need to modify some things and move them into a new collection code. You can do that all from this interface. You can also export again from here. So if I just wanted a barcode file for these, let's say 20 items, I can export that and take it right in. The next thing I'll talk a little bit about is the ability to create lists. Whether you're creating a list to share for the public to use for like a list of titles that maybe is coming up for a particular month, like let's say Halloween, you can do that, or you can create personal lists if you're trying to purchase or build out a certain collection. This just allows you to come in, create those lists, and you can add items either from a search or multiple items by either barcode or bib number right within this interface. Now we'll talk about technical services. So within your Koha system, you have an acquisitions module, which allows you to essentially begin the ordering process. So the acquisitions module has 4 basic components. The first is managing your spending. So you have your fiscal year spending and a breakdown of all of your funds and fund codes. Fund codes can be alpha or numeric, but this will keep a live look at the amount allocated, the amount ordered, the amount spent, and what's available left in that collection. At any given time, I can click on any of those. So if I click on that ordered, it will show me the title, the order number, the vendor who I purchased it from, and then the type of item. If I click on the title itself, I'll be able to go in there. I can see the acquisitions details where it will show me the vendor, the invoice if it's been received, the basket, which is Koha's term for group of orders, and the unique order number. So it makes it really easy for staff to be able to see this information. And then depending on how you purchase, you have the ability to do like skeletal records, or you can bring in full records within the system. The second piece of acquisitions is vendor management. This is where I'm going to come in and keep track of all of my vendors. Now, Koha is EDI or EDIFACT compliant, so you can do electronic ordering with your vendors. The vendor module basically allows you to keep track of any type of details, website, account information, contacts, whether they're, your ordering rep or your customer support rep or EDI or EDIFACT. You can keep multiple contacts in here who also can be notified for late orders, and you can place claims within the Koha system. It also ties into serials. So if you do have any print serials that you're still purchasing, you can also place claims that way, and it will look at the individuals connected to this account. The other two things you'll see within vendor management is the ability to track your ordering information and any type of interfaces that you're logging into. So think about things where maybe you're downloading records from an FTP site, or you're ordering electronically, or you log in for statistical purposes to get reports. You can track all of that information here, so anyone who has access to acquisitions can view it. The second component of acquisitions ties into 3 and 4, right? So we're managing our vendors, and then we're also ordering and receiving. So this is where you can come in and create a basket. Again, that's Koha's terminology for ordering things. And in here, when we create those baskets, we are essentially bringing in the bibliographic record and the item within the system. Now, we do have connections to vendors, which allow you to map those 9XX fields. So you can bring that information directly into the Koha system. You can add to a basket in multiple ways, whether it's files that you got from a vendor. If you're using third-party products like OCLC or BTCat or Sky River, you can have that brought in automatically where you're either uploading files from the vendor, searching them via Z3950, or you just want to create your own empty skeletal record. All of that can be done within the system. It can also tie into those purchase suggestions as well as subscriptions in the serials module itself. So the one thing that I really appreciate about Koha's acquisitions module is the ability to create an on-order item, which allows your patrons to place holds on them. So if you do allow your patrons to place holds on on-order items, they'll be able to do that within the system. Now, again, we do have EDIFACT order, which will send the order to the vendor via an SFTP process. When that comes back, Koha receives it within the system. Now, for vendors that aren't EDI or EDIFACT compliant, or if you're not using EDI, we'll use Amazon as our example here. When we do create baskets, you also have the option to receive those. And what this allows you to do is essentially enter in the vendor's invoice, and then you'll be able to go through and receive those items within the system. There's all types of options to update or modify or transfer or cancel within the system as well. At any given time, you'll be able to see a live look at late orders within the acquisitions module. Koha will keep track of those for you. So if they haven't been received in a set period of time, it looks at the vendor record itself. You'll be able to see that. And then you'll also be able to look and view all invoices within the system. You can search by invoice number, vendor, shipping or billing date, or any of the fields tied into the order. When that comes back, you'll be able to see the invoice within the system. And then this will just give you a snapshot where you can see everything that's been ordered or purchased. The fund it's attributed to, total cost. You can add adjustments. Think of this for things like credits or refunds or processing fees that you may have paid within the system. You also have a live look at EDIFACT messages, and this will show the messages that go back and forth between the vendor. Now let's talk a little bit about cataloging. Cataloging within your Koha system allows you to come in and create records. Again, you can bring records in from outside sources. So you'll see first on the left-hand side column, options to stage records for import. This allows you to bring records in from an outside source. Again, OCLC, any of the vendors you're working with, whoever they may be, you can bulk import these records. Once those records are imported into the system, you can set matching rules, and then they will be set within your managed stage records. This is where you can come in and actually look at those MARC records. It will tell you if it finds a match within the system. And then, of course, you can view those records side by side to see which one you want to keep or which one you want to remove. Within cataloging, you also have the ability to export your data at any time. If you're updating holdings, let's say, and you want to export them, we have an inventory tool and the ability to do fast cataloging. Fast cataloging, some other ILSs might call it on the fly. And it just allows you to create, just a quick record in the system. And you can customize what these fields are listed as, what fields show, and make it as easy as possible for staff. In the center of the screen, you're going to see batch editing. We have everything from modification of a record or an item to the deletion of an item or a record. And again, these are all permission-based, so not everyone has access to this. But this does allow you to come in, make modifications by either uploading a file, selecting a list of records, or entering unique record numbers within the system to either modify or delete them. The last column over here is for tools. And so that will be any type of label that you're creating, spine label, barcode label, whatever it is. You can completely customize those and tell Koha what to print from the system. Yes, you can print to things like Dymo label writers or zebras within the system if you're doing like single prints as well. We have a quick spine label creator where you could just scan the barcode and it spits it out. So it makes it really easy. Now we'll get down to what the cool stuff looks like. So we have two editors within Koha. We have a basic editor and an advanced editor. I'll show you the advanced editor first. This is where you can come in, create a record, modify a record. Koha does have frameworks, and you can think of those like templates, right? You can create a template for books or electronic records or interlibrary loan records, whatever it may be. Those will tell the system, which fields are required or mandatory within the system. The advanced editor has keyboard shortcuts that you can use within the system. It will provide staff with alerts if they try to save a record and get errors. And each cataloger can change their own text or font size. I love that. You also have macros, which allow you to run text of string. If you've ever used OCLC connection before, it's very similar to like what they refer to as text strings. So, you can create a string of text, run the macro, and it adds it right in. You can import one record off. It also has a built-in Z3950 target. So you can search whatever targets you want outside the system, as well as your local catalog. There's a clipboard over here on the left-hand side if you want to pull something out and change it. And then, of course, you also have a direct link out to Library of Congress. So if you forget what the indicator or character position is, you can just verify that before updating the record. Now, there's also a basic editor in Koha, and that basic editor is more mouse-driven. So this allows you to come in and really look at every type of field. It has tag editors, so you don't have to remember what the position is. You could just come in and select it. And then it makes it easy to move things around. My favorite example here is always, maybe I want the medium to be right after the title itself, and you can just drag and drop. You'll see 10 tabs across the top. which take you from, your leaders down to any local call numbers, author, title, descriptions, series, any type of notes, authorities. And I will show you the direct connection to the authorities module in Koha. That allows you to search for existing authorities or create a new authority, which does take you out to the Library of Congress. You'll see additional fields, any electronic content, and then, of course, finally, the 9XX fields. Koha uses the 942 subfield C to identify the item type, and then the 952 tags to identify any items within the system. So what I'll do now is I'm going to do a quick search for a record within the system so you can see what the record looks like. In this cataloging search, I can see my results. It shows me the title, the location, and then on the right-hand side, I have my actions. This allows me to either edit or add an item. I can look at the mark preview or make any type of changes. You can merge items. So if you found duplicates, you can begin that process for merging in here. Or again, we'll just jump right in to add and edit items. So we saw the mark fields. Now let's take a look at the item. Items do have the ability to create templates. So just like those frameworks we saw, we can create templates for the creation, which makes it really easy when we're creating new items in the system. Those can be shared upon staff. Within the item record itself, we'll start at the 952 subfield 0, going all the way down to the 952 subfield Z. When you are going through the implementation process, you can decide what fields are relevant for staff when they're cataloging these item records and have which ones are required, which ones are visible within the system. Once staff have filled in all the pertinent information, they can add an item, duplicate it, or add multiple copies. Once that item has been created, it will then show up within the system where they can see the information right within the mark record itself, which is up top, and then down below the holding for that particular record. We can pull in cover images from outside sources. Koha does have a free source called a COSI server, which brings information in. Here, staff will be able to place or process holds for patrons. They can come right in, search for an individual or scan their barcode, and then place a hold on either the next item or a particular item in that record itself. Once the hold is placed, they'll be able to see them on that list, and they'll have the ability to modify their position if they have the permission to do it. You do have a modification log within the system, which will show you any transactional history for that record. And then you also have an items tab, which is super helpful for circulation staff. They can come in here and mark something lost or damaged, or put in any type of note within the system. They'll also be able to see a history of the last borrower, when it was borrowed last and when it was returned last within the system. The last thing we'll talk about within the cataloging module is, again, just the ability to make changes in bulk. We do have mark modification templates, which allow you to modify fields, delete fields, copy and replace fields within the system. And then you can also update fields by a date and or time. The best or most popular way to do things within this module is updating maybe a new item or a new book to a regular book or item. My library calls it Sizzlers. Some people call it Prime Picks. Some people call it Hot. Whatever it is, this allows you to automatically update things based on a time frame and then a specific field. So again, just trying to help make it easy to process within the system. Koha does have a serials module, which allows you to keep track of subscriptions. Once subscriptions are created within the system, staff can come in and receive. It will show them the predicted date and time, and then they can go through the process of either creating an item record or not, and processing those within the system. The serials module allows you to place claims for items that were never received, and you can either download the list or send a serial claim, which sends it to the vendor that we saw in acquisitions within the system. You can create your own frequencies and number patterns within the serials module as well. Koha does have a e-resource management module, which basically allows you to keep track of agreements, licenses, and holdings. And this is great to keep track of like database subscriptions or e-content licenses that you have in the system. You can upload a digital copy or scan in a print copy and have it digitally accessible. It will also help you keep track of what's active and who has access to it. Within the ERM, you also have the ability to track usage. So if you get Counter 5 reports from any of your vendors, you can also bring those in here as well. Koha does have an authorities module, which allows you to create new authorities or, again, go out to Z39 targets and search either Library of Congress names or subject headings. You can also come in here and search for any authority within the system, and that will, again, allow you to come back, see the records that they're used in, and then edit, merge, or preview that authority within the system. As far as reports go, Koha allows you to report upon anything within the system. Because it's open source, you can see the database schema, so you can write or create a report for anything. And when I say anything, you can get down to the nitty-gritty of your collection development and look at turnover rate. You can add your state reports. So every fiscal year when you have to send something to the state library, you can just run those reports and send them back. Or if you want to look at maybe the amount that you're spending in a particular collection for acquisitions, you can come in here and run those reports pretty quickly and easily within the system. Every time you run a report, you have the ability to download it or print it in some type of fashion. So if we come over here and let's say we want to look at a weeding report, we can come in and over here on the right-hand side, we can click Run. That allows us, in this case, to look at two things. In this report, we're saying we want to see things that were required before a certain date. So we'll say 2014, and today is the 9th. And then we can say, let's look at a particular collection code. I'm going to select fiction. Now you can add anything you want here, item types, locations, whatever it may be. This now brings back a report where I can view the record or edit the record. I can export this list and take it right into batch record modification or deletion. I can even add it to a list. I can also download it as a CSV file or a text document or a spreadsheet. I can even create charts. You can create pie, bar, or line charts within the system. Now, Bywater Solutions can automatically set up reports to run. So if you want to run a report daily, weekly, monthly, annually, you can set that up so it's emailed directly to an individual or a group of individuals within the system. Now, as far as creating reports, if you know SQL, you can come in and create a report from scratch. You do have the ability to create guided reports, which walk you through a wizard step, or you can search a database of other Koha reports that librarians and staff have created, and it's like a Z3950. It brings in a copy of the report. So you don't have to start from scratch or recreate the wheel. You can just start and grab a copy of a report that somebody else has created. So reports are pretty awesome because you can organize them however you want into whatever type of categories. You can come in and run them yourself or have them scheduled to run. And then you can really, the sky is the limit. You can see we have over 670 reports in here. When we first do your implementation, we put in about 50 of the most requested reports. As Adam says, we've been around for 15 years. So over those last 15 years, we've kind of taken our most requested and we give you a starting place. We'll also migrate or bring in any of your reports that you're currently using to make it easy for your go live. The last thing I'll show in here is tools. And this just allows you to do things in bulk or let's say the ability to do deletions at bulk as well. So whether I'm, importing patrons or modifying my notices and slips, I can begin that process here, which allows me to customize those. Notices can be translatable into different languages, and Koha can send emails, work with third-party products to do phone or SMS, and then, of course, print as well. In tools, you'll also see the calendar feature, which tells your system when you're opened and closed. And last, but of course not least, co-administration. This is where all the magic is happening behind the scenes. You're telling your system, like, what's visible, what's not, what's enabled, what's disabled. You're setting up your item types, collection codes, and shelving locations within the system, and really making your system function